Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
And I'm Mac.
And today we're going to be giving our first impressions of...
Orichalcum or Orichalcum?
Orichalcum. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, but it is one of the new games, at least at the time that we're filming this, from Bruno, Cathala. It's actually from... And...
Johannes Goupy.
Yes. Is that the name? Johannes Goupy, who I don't know much about. We do have quite a few Bruno games, so that is not too new to us, and I really enjoy a lot of the Bruno games. I think you like a number of them as well, especially the ones that are more on the lighter side, which I think this one kind of fits more in that kind of playbook versus like Five Tribes or something like that.
Right.
This is from Pandasaurus Games, which is, I don't know, it just feels like a different kind of combo, Bruno Cathala and Pandasaurus Games. But, but anyway, this one was one that was getting a little bit of buzz, I think, especially on the Dice Tower. I think Z and Mike and Chris all liked it quite a bit.
Yeah.
And since it was Bruno Cathala, I didn't really know too much how it was played, but I saw that there were kind of King Domino-like area, kind of you're making these different areas together, and I really like that in King Domino, which was also Bruno Cathala.
So you're ready to take a risk.
So I was willing to take the risk on this one, and Pandasaurus Games usually makes some pretty good games as well, so all those combining factors.
Zach was like, take my money.
Take my money. We need to try this one out. And actually, I'd originally gotten this for Jesse.
Yeah.
But
and
he
I was
did not know
bummed
that.
because I was like, based on the box cover, that one looks pretty good. Like, I judged it based on the cover, and I was like, I don't know, that looks interesting. And so when you said you got it for Jesse, I was kind of like, oh, bummer.
But then he got himself a good copy of it because he didn't think I was getting it. So hopefully we liked it.
Hopefully.
But yeah, we just got done with our first play of it. And what were your thoughts?
Well, I just have to say,
Since going into it, you sounded like you were...
Yeah, I think this was one on that list that I said I wanted to play at the end of last year.
Yep.
The goals for 2023, I think.
You can check out our list of our top 10 games most anticipated to play, get off our shelf of shame.
Yeah.
This was
plug
on your list, and I think, was it on mine as well? I think this one
probably
might have been one of the couple crossovers.
Yeah. And I just want to say, too, I looked up the name, and it's actually, like, based on, like, a metal that was, like, in ancient times. They don't really know what it was. They think maybe platinum or whatever. So, anyway, I just want to say, because, like, I feel like games come with such cool names sometimes, and I have no idea what it means, and so I just like looking it up. So, there you go. That's what that means.
So, really, some guy named something Orichalcum somewhere in the history said, yeah, they used to have this metal, and it just happened to have my name.
Actually, it came up in Plato, in a thing by Plato, and then they referenced it, and it had something to do with Atlantis, but...
well, this was his nickname.
They're not sure what it was, what kind of metal they were using, but anyway, just for your nugget, because all of these pieces in here are called, like, Orichalcum pieces or whatever, so... I really liked it. I thought it was fun. It was, like... It's a lot. I mean, it's not a lot, but it was like, okay, I need to focus. Like, you only have to get 5 points in this game. So, it might not sound like a lot, but you need to make a concerted effort every turn, starting at the beginning round, to get those points. Like, you have to be planning how to get those. And for me to grasp that and then win the game, I feel like...
Wow.
I feel like speaks to this being not a heavy game. But it does take, I think, some mindful turns. So, I really had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think originally we might have been a little more hesitant than we needed to be to kind of spend some of our resources to get, you can choose to kind of do an additional action and kind of either repeat an action you've taken or one of the other actions for the turn, and we weren't really doing too much of that right away.
No.
So
because we're like, I want all these resources.
Right, and I think at one point in the game, probably towards the middle of the game, we both had just a huge pile of kind of each of them, which I don't think is really what you want, since it is very much a race game. Like you said, once you hit 5 points,
well, I wasn't sure when we started, like, how hard is it going to be to rebuild this stack up, because they're important for different things in the game. So
right. Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit as well. We played it at 2 players, which has a little bit of a different piece to it where there's this board of cards that you are taking each turn, which have both either 1, 2, or 3 tile on them with different land terrains, and then also an action on them, and possibly a monster depending on the terrain that was on that tile, which all kind of play into your that turn. And in a 2-player game, you get rid of one of those cards as one of the steps in your turn. And I think we got rid of a lot of monsters, so
Yeah.
I think at a 3 or 4-player count, it would play quite a bit more differently than we just played it.
Right.
Just because we didn't really have too much for monsters out there.
Right. And then like you pick one card, right, and then you're discarding another one. So out of like 5 cards on the board, if you're the starting player, you get first 2 choices basically, and then you leave the next player with 3 cards to choose from, which isn't bad, but it definitely gives you, I think, an advantage if you want to try and stop someone from getting something that they need.
Yeah, I would agree. And then I think with more players, the determining the first player with your number of warrior
Acolytes?
guys, that you have, I think would be a little more interesting as well. So I think it still played pretty well at 2, but I think this one might actually be one that I'll prefer to play at 3 or 4. And I think it should still go relatively quickly, because it was a very quick game with your turns being extremely snappy. I mean, everything is really well laid out. You know, kind of, okay, I'm going to be having to place this tile out here, either a 1, 2, or 3, and you're kind of trying to create some patterns in either kind of a large area of the same type, because you can get these god tiles or Titan tiles, and you can use those abilities as well, but you can only ever have one at a time, and you can kind of steal those back and forth, which I think would also be another more interesting thing with more players, because we never really ended up...
No.
We didn't really take that many of them.
But, like, yeah, based on the tiles, like, because you have to get a certain amount to even start getting them, so just the way you have to lay out the tile. And I was planning, like, almost from the get-go, like, how can I get these temples? And so when you're doing that, it doesn't allow you to build up a big group of them. And so I was like, I got the green one, but I see I can get the mountain one, but that's, like, it. So I was like, hopefully I don't lose it, but I was like, this is what I got.
Right. So yeah, I would think after that play, I'd put this anywhere from like a 7 to 7.5 for me. I'll be interested to see if it helps it or hurts it for me once I play at 3 or 4 players, because I'm expecting it to be even better with that. But obviously, without playing it that way, it's hard to tell for sure. But no, I look forward to playing this one quite a bit more, because it's going to be one of those quick ones, which is really nice to have. Those racing games, and I think Z had kind of said on the Dice Tower that a lot of games seem pretty close, where on the same turn the other player would have won, and it kind of just depends on first player, and that was the case with at least this game.
Wow.
But I mean, that's a good thing, because you don't want to feel...
I didn't even realize I could win, and then...
Well, I saw it, and I'm like, well, she's got it.
And I came back with, like, 2 points or 3 points that last turn. So I was like, oh, there we go. I did it.
Which I think is always a good thing about the race-type games, is that you feel like, oh, if it would have just been my turn to start, I would have won or whatever, versus feeling like, I only had 1 out of the 5 points. I wasn't even close.
When it came down to, like, me being starting player, otherwise you would have had it too. So... But no, I think I'd give this one probably like an 8 or an 8.5, just because I think it's very to the point. It's simplified, but it's like it's a game, like, but it's not too much. I don't know how to say that. Like, some games I feel like they just keep going and going, and they build all these crazy things out or whatever, but like this has some really like
streamlined.
Streamlined like mechanisms, and like the whole game I think is just wrapped up in a neat little bow with how everything kind of works together. And so I think too, because you're playing on your own player board and there's really not a lot of outside influence, that this game will also be good at a higher player count. So I'm interested to see how that goes. So based on that, I think it'd be good. The only thing I'm worried about in the future, way down the road, is probably replayability, because there's only so many cards, so many boards, whatever. So that's all. So many strategies you could take.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, because 5 points isn't really that many. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if you can. I don't know how much you can really do differently each time, but like you
Right.
said. Yeah, I look forward to playing it some more. If you want to get a good look at everything inside this game, definitely take a look at our unboxing video. That should have kind of a good look at all the components and everything, which I think this game has some solid components and artwork on it, so
It does.
definitely check those out. But otherwise, we hope to see you on that video, and as always, don't forget to keep on nibbling on our content.